Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sam, and I'll be doing the free video for April 16th, 2021. So I just finished recording the premium video for the Gold Room, and in the premium video, we did kind of a full picture look at all the different markets. We looked at international markets, commodities, bonds, and then the different sectors. Most of the sectors look great. I mean, with the market at new all-time highs, it shouldn't be too surprising that the sectors look pretty good. But there's a couple of things that I do want to focus on for next week that I think are setting up potentially again. Primarily materials and industrials, materials, and semiconductors. So let's take a look. So here on SPX, I do want to start with the indices first because they are a little bit extended. We've had about 4 straight weeks of basically straight up action here in the SPX, and it's gotten to very close to a target level as well as the 2.5 standard deviation Bollinger on the weekly time frame. So I use a 2.5 standard deviation Bollinger. And what that does is it basically should capture about 97% of all price action should be normally between the Bollingers. And you can see that back here, even during great moves higher, it really doesn't touch the upper weekly that often. This is a little bit of a concern. It could offer the opportunity for a pullback first next week. Sometime by Wednesday, I would imagine. Maybe back to the 8 here. So maybe about 41.40, 41.50 on the pullback. Just to kind of cool off the weekly a little bit and give it a little bit more room because that Bollinger keeps going higher. And if you're able to trade sideways, it'll keep going higher. And then you have more and more room to the upside. So the market looks fantastic here, don't get me wrong, but it is a little bit extended. So I do want to watch out for that and be a little bit cautious and especially a lot more picky in terms of what to buy with the market so extended. So a couple of names that came up on my list today. One that I added today was Caterpillar. I do like the setup here in Cat going into their earnings report pretty soon. Looks like they have the report pretty much at the end of the month. So we're kind of getting into what Danielle would call kind of the hot zone, where you get about 21 days before earnings, and some stocks have a really good personality of trading higher into the report, which I'm looking for Caterpillar to do. It is still holding the 21. I really like this interaction here around the 21, how it put in those long wicks. So it comes down to the 21 and it's not, closing down there at the 21. It's hitting it and bouncing hard. And that's what I want to see. As of today, it's above the 8, which is generally positive. And you can see that the squeeze actually did trigger today, technically. It went from red to black, which is a trigger. The weekly chart has no issues, right? It's just perfectly straight up. And then the 195, which is 2 bars per day. So kind of an interesting time frame to use. You have a nice little squeeze setting up here as well, right? So that squeeze in the context of the daily trend, typically the squeeze will fire in the direction of the predominant trend, and the predominant trend in Caterpillar is overwhelmingly to the upside. So I like the interaction here between the 195 and the daily, and then I also like the fact that the hourly squeeze here is setting up fresh for a new squeeze, and that could be the accelerant or the match, if you will, to light this whole thing and get it going higher. So I did add some Caterpillar today, and I'm okay with holding that even on pullbacks because it looks pretty good. One setup that looks pretty good as well here is Freeport McMoran. So this one could also use a pullback, and maybe if you're able to get a nice pullback on Monday or Tuesday, I think it offers up the opportunity for a buy. And the reason I like Freeport here is because of what we saw in copper. So there's only a few ways to play copper other than, copper futures. But in terms of stocks, it really comes down to just one, and it really is Freeport, FCX. And we're getting pretty strong signals in copper. So if it indeed pulls back, and, up here it's a little extended, so ideally it does pull back, maybe about $1 or so, which would be kind of ideal. And then that opens up the opportunity to get long in Freeport. So another name that I like. And then one more here, and this one's already kind of ran a little bit, but it is my favorite pick, and it's Yeti. And I like Yeti here because it has a weekly squeeze, and it had multiple day squeezes, although it's used up a lot of them so far. But just a very, very ideal chart. I think if you get the opportunity to get a pullback here in Yeti, it should be bought, and we should be looking to play this weekly squeeze with ideal structure much higher, right? So you can see the weekly squeeze there kicking off, and just trending very, very nicely here. So very similar to a lot of names where ideally you want a pullback. You probably don't get a pullback in Yeti without the market as a whole pulling back, just because it is so strong. But I think on any pullbacks, it should continue to be added to for the May series, and we look to play it and take advantage of that weekly squeeze, which should last about 2 months once it triggers. So a very strong chart there, probably headed into the mid 90s. So just a couple of picks there that we like, guys, going into next week. Again, I do want to urge just a little bit of caution, not because things don't look good, but just because things are so extended, right? So the closer that you can get into at a support level on any stock that you're following, I think the better that is. You'd look to still play the opportunities, but ideally you want to get in as close as possible to that support level. That way you have a firm floor relatively close to your entry, and then from there you can push it higher. So if we do get a pullback, anytime between Monday through Wednesday, I think that opens up the door for these entries into a lot of these different names, like the ones we've talked about, as well as the FANG stocks. The strongest signal that I still see going into the end of the month is the FANG stocks as a group. So it's things like Amazon continue to look great and probably should be traded long into their earnings report. So we'll go ahead and leave you with that, guys. Hopefully it was helpful. Again, don't forget to, before you click off the page, leave us a like and a dislike, or a dislike if you choose to. That's okay. Just let us know you are here, right? Go ahead and click the thumbs up or the thumbs down button. If you care to, leave us a comment, right? Let us kind of interact with us a little bit. Leave us a comment, leave us a like or a dislike. And that just helps us kind of get the YouTube algorithm to show our stuff to more people, right? So if you like our stuff, let us know by supporting us by leaving us a like or a comment, and we would appreciate it. Aside from that, guys, come and check us out at simplertrading.com if you like the content that we bring you. This is what we do every day, and it's our pleasure to be able to trade with you guys. So we'd like to see you over there. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a great night, and we'll see you for the next one. Cheers.
Without Simpler Trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency.
It's one of the things that won me